Good evening, everyone. It's now 5:01. We'll go ahead and call to order our special Finance Committee of the whole meeting. Do I have a
I'll
So
call the
moved.
roll for you.
awesome? Thank
Mayor
you.
Miller.
Here.
Alderpersons Clem.
Here.
Monroe.
Here.
Simmons is absent. Parker.
Here.
Stacy is absent. Shadle.
Here.
Sanders is absent. And Sellers.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Awesome. Thank you. Pledge of Allegiance by Alderperson Sellers, please.
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 4 on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a first by Alderman Shadle, a second by Alderperson Sellers. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item number 5 is public comments. I did not see any. Anybody like to speak? Yeah. We have one? Oh, Bernie, sorry.
A lot of papers.
Sorry about that, Bernie.
I'm going to make this relatively quick because I'm still mixed on the budget, but I see some real good progress being made on some of the numbers because they're starting to add up, and I think you've got reserves going forward that are going to be applicable. But GFOA has undertaken the topic of rethinking budgeting, with one of the topics being budgeting for equity. Equity. As they state, and I agree, today the discussions on equity are making their way into every aspect of decision making, including budgeting. Because budgeting is ultimately about who gets what and how much. That equity must be shaped in the process. But budgeting for equity is difficult and reveals tensions in the community. This selection, explores these tensions and techniques for managing them to build a better and stronger community. This topic is in the GFOA's newsletter in October, starting on page 17. Many governments are taking an interest in budgeting for equity, which broadly defined is it means allocating local government resources in a way that is intended to address unfair disparities between different groups of people, such as racial groups or income groups. This article goes on to define that in more concept. When I took a closer look at comparing my block to Marvin Lane, that disparity jumps right out. Keep in mind that this is just a first look at the numbers, and no one will be happy with the results. The road fund obtains revenue from electricity tax and natural gas tax and road improvement fee. All of these are regressive taxes, which puts a bigger burden on low-income earners than higher incomes, of whom the same dollar amount equates to a much larger percentage of total earned income. This is further impacted by the city trying to lower property taxes on the higher earners through better services, diverting investments in infrastructure to the squeaky wheels. This lack of investment lowers the EEV in those areas, transferring a greater burden to higher income properties. As the EAV drops, landlords move in and further accelerating the decay. Tearing down old homes, even at zero cost to the city, removes a potential tax base permanently and adding to the decline. Our lack of effective rental housing rules means more water leaks that go unfixed, less insulation, meaning higher electric and gas bills, leading to higher bad debt write-offs. Nobody wins in this scenario, and available resources for services become constrained. I shared with Rob some information on how
Your
things.
time has expired.
But, okay, thank you.
No, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Bernie. We'll move on to item number 6, the presentation by City Manager Boyer and Director Richter with respect to capital budgets for various departments.
Good evening, everyone. Let's see here. Our first items for this evening, we're going to discuss capital budgets for Public Works, the IT department, fire department, capital equipment fund, police department and street department, motor fuel tax fund, street improvement fund, water, sewer, and storm funds. So what we've got up here, and I apologize for the difficulty in reading it, but if you'll just look at your packet. We've got several transportation projects scheduled as we're budgeting for the street portion of Adams Avenue. We've got about a $1.5 million budget for the transportation portion on that. We are looking at Hancock Bridge 2.2. That'll be paid for with the special bridge fund. The viaduct, which is at Shawnee, at the east end of Shawnee, goes under the railroad tracks there at that location, and we've got about $800,000 budgeted for repairs to the abutment walls and foundation repairs there so that we can move forward with lowering the viaduct. Also, we are budgeting about $3 million for the street maintenance program. So this would include $2 million from our motor fuel tax, which is accrued, and an additional $1 million of reserves. So we will be using $1 million in reserves this year to do the 2024 street maintenance program. So we've put up kind of in the order of importance or the order of opportunity, Chicago Avenue from Galena to Jackson, Dirk Drive, Meadows to Field Circle, Iroquois, Adams to Kenwood, Oak Avenue, Galena to South, Quail Ridge. The second half of Ridge Street, we're hoping to get the first half done this year. Sioux Drive, there's a cul-de-sac there that needs to be taken care of on to Greenfield. And then the viaduct roadway under Shawnee and the Yellowstone Court, which is also problematic. Also, we're looking at police department relocation. We're putting in a number of $750,000 in our capital budget for the relocation and rehab, or the beginnings of a rehab for a new police station. Also, we're planning for demo of the old police station out into 2027. We'll see how that works, and this is basically so we're prepared for any opportunities that come along throughout the fiscal year in 2024. Also, we need a budget for some repairs to one of the salt sheds. It's a pole-style construction, which the poles are deteriorated, and we need to basically go in and rebuild that salt shed. We're also including in $1,000 for contract tree removal. We have many large and grown trees in the city parks for the species of trees that are planted. So for the last 3 years, we've been systematically removing those trees that are too large for the parkway. So we're going to continue to do that. Also, we've budgeted $5.8 million for the water portion of Adams Avenue. Again, that's through an EPA loan. And then lead service line phase 3, we're budgeting $3 million. We've received, I think, $2.7 million in loan forgiveness, with an additional, the city portion would be approximately $300,000. Any questions on that part of the capital budget? We got more to go here, but does anybody have any questions on this part? Yes.
Go ahead, Alderperson Sellers.
Just one question. I know you see where you want to demo the police department building. Could it be used for something besides demoing? Or?
I could discuss
Okay.
kind of that
I just
option
wanted
with
to-
you. Yeah.
Thank you.
There's some issues with it that would make it cost prohibitive to reuse it. So, yes, sir.
Quick question. So I noticed there's only 1 year worth of police department relocation. So you're looking for an existing structure to move into? Is that pretty much the goal at this point?
Yeah, that would be to relocate into an existing structure with money to do the rehabilitation on that structure. And this is more of a placekeeper. This isn't a hard, figure. We're just putting something in for this year. If the right opportunity comes along and we have the opportunity to purchase the right location, then we want to make sure we're budgeting for that.
And follow-up question, as far as working with the sheriff's department, 911 centers, are we looking at a kind of a one-shop stop?
That is one of the things we're looking at. So there's multiple approaches on this, and that is one of the approaches we're looking at.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay. So moving on to wastewater, we've got the Adams Avenue portion of the sewer project. That's 2.4 million. Again, that's through an EPA loan. Also, the wastewater facility phase 1. That's $25 million. We're budgeting for next year, and that's also with the EPA loan. So there'll be revolving fund loans to reimburse us as that project proceeds. We have about 500,000 scheduled for lining or budgeted for lining projects, so that's sewer lining. So as we go and do a street project, we want to make sure those sewer mains are in good shape, and to make sure or to ensure that's the case, we would repair whatever's broken, then we go through and line it. That's what those are for. Also manhole rehab, that's a similar process where if we have a brick manhole, we can go in with an epoxy liner and secure that brick manhole for probably 50 years. Also, we're budgeting for lift station generators. We've got a number of sewer lift stations throughout the system, and none of which have their own generator source. So if power goes out, our guys end up driving around town in the middle of the night when there's no power, making sure all lift stations are pumped out. We want to systematically put in backup generators to all those lift stations and any of our remote sites in the utility that require power. We want to make sure that as time goes on, we're putting those backup generators in. Also, we're budgeting $1.8 million out of the Lamb Road TIF for a lift station at Lamb Road and Walnut. That would enable us to increase our capacity of wastewater flow for the existing industry and open up the potential for future development in that area. Then stormwater projects, we're looking at two. The Adams Avenue project is, as you've kind of probably assumed, we've got the road portion, the water portion, the sewer portion. Now we're talking about the storm portion. That's 1.5 million. Again, that would come out of stormwater CIP funds. Also, we have identified three total stormwater projects that need attention, but the first one, the primary one, is the downtown stormwater project. We're budgeting $1.6 million, and we're hoping to get a 60-40 split with IEPA matching funds to get that accomplished. The main issue there is the Benton and Jackson outfall. That is put together with pressure-treated lumber, and the lumber's given away. And so we've been working with Fairgram and also with the Soil and Water Conservation to help us provide an alternate or solution to that would be economical and deal with the issue we've got down there. So also in the vehicles, we've got a 5-yard dump truck scheduled for payment in 2025. If you'll notice that we can order that in 24. We don't expect to see those for at least a year or two, most likely 2. So that's the lead time on those. So we're going to go ahead and budget that for 2025, but we're going to order them next year. So that and a 10-yard truck for water sewer. And we recently paid for the Pelican sweeper, and we wanted to pick up or to order a new sweeper of potentially a different design. It's more of a vacuum that would help us with construction cleanup. So any questions on the second half on CIP?
Doesn't look like.
Okay.
Carry on.
All right, the next item is IT capital expenditure budget. So in 2024, we've got about $25,000 in computer hardware items that are under $3,600 each. This is all various upgrades and updates to different departments' requirements. Also, the police department host server, we're budgeting about $30,000 for that, and squad car tablets for the PD. So that makes up the majority of the IT capital budget. Any questions on IT? Yes.
Just one.
Go ahead, Alderperson Sellers.
Just want to know, how many squad car tablets will you be purchasing?
I'm guessing that's between 7 and 10.
7 to 10? I have another question.
Carry on.
The other question would be is it called the host server or the
Yeah.
whatever? I know that a lot of people have been complaining that it blinks out or it cuts off and is that due to the host service or do you know?
You know, Kurt, could you jump in on that one?
I haven't heard of anything blinking out. I'd be interested to know what that is. We can
Oh,
fix it.
okay.
But
Yeah.
the host no shouldn't do it. It's just
Oh,
aged in its new hardware.
okay.
That answers your question.
So you're saying you just need new hardware? You just need
it's
software?
dated. It's
Okay.
beyond its useful life. It needs to
Okay, okay, thank you.
Okay, with that, I'd like to move on to the Fire Improvement Fund capital budget. So on the revenue side, we've got on the revenue side, we've got 1.5 million in the account right now. We're expecting another 1.2 in ambulance calls and GEMT revenue of 1.2 million. Then on the expenditure side, next year we're looking at $1,200 for bank charges, replacement rear entrance door for Station 1 of approximately $3,000, central station security camera upgrade of $7,500, Station 1 paint and in the apparatus area walls, $14,000 on that. And then removal of abandoned exhaust duct work in Station 1, $2,000. We're looking at a security camera upgrade of $7,500, central fire station generator upgrade of $65,000. Again, this is for ESDA and whatnot. You've got one location where you're going to have the communication already there, all the people there. We need to make sure that our backup generator capacity is going to be online and available for any demand placed upon it in an emergency. So that's what that is right there. Currently, we have a generator, but it is not fully capable of running everything that's going on out there during an emergency. VFW radio network maintenance, so $55,000 on that. Billing services, $54,000. GEMT accounting services, $30,000. And then firefighter turnout gear, if we get the SAFER grant, would be $100,000. If we don't get the SAFER grant, we won't do any. And it'll be significantly smaller. SCBA's, so the breathing apparatuses for the 3rd ambulance, that's $12,000, and new positive pressure fans, $5,000. We've got a little bit more to go. Any questions on that part?
I have.
Go ahead.
Yeah, could you help me understand, because I don't know, what is a VHF radio network?
That's basically very high frequency radio network, so it's essentially the spectrum which the radios function on. So it's just VHF, or it's just a type of a band frequency.
Oh, okay. So the items that, in the yellow that are blank, those are items that they're needed, but we can wait until these 25, 26, and 27, is that correct?
That's right. Those items are scheduled out for future years.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Okay. In addition, we've got the ambulance equipment, so that's $70,000. Chief, did you want to talk about that one? Well,
Sure, I'd be happy to. With this additional ambulance that we have coming that's on order, the $70,000 would be earmarked for equipment to outfit that ambulance. The primary expense will be the cardiac monitor, defibrillator, also some various radio items, traction, splint devices, things of that nature. So our other 2 ambulances are currently outfitted, but bringing on an additional one, then we have to outfit it accordingly.
Moving on down the list, also replacement ambulance stairs, I think you might, or ambulance stair chairs, so $5,500 on that. And then environmentally safe firefighting foam, $4,000. I think we have certain needs from time to time. Our fire requires firefighting foam up until, I don't know, in the past, that's part of the issue with the perfluorinated compounds that we have out there. So this is safe firefighting foam. Moving on down, we've got debt service for the central station and the engine aerial, $338,000, and then transfer to corporate, so that's $951,000. Michelle, did you want to comment on that?
We have referenced there the ordinance that we use, so in order to transfer to corporate, so it's 54% based on a formula that we use every year. So that amount there would be transferred to the general fund to cover general fund expenses.
And then lastly, we've got the GEMT payments to the Illinois Department of Public Health, so 50% there. Chief, did you want to mention anything on that one?
Sure. So what this references, if you see up at the very top, GEMT revenues, $1.2 million. Well, that's what we get from the government to supplement Medicare, Medicaid. But this current line item at the bottom, the state takes half of that. So whatever we bring in based on our ambulance treatment and transport, state of Illinois says, well, we'd like to have half of that. So that's what is reflected at this line 6,900 at the bottom, state getting theirs.
Okay, any questions on the Fire Improvement Fund? Okay, moving on to item 331, Capital Equipment Fund. So we've got several different revenue sources here. We've got, oops, I'm sorry, Chief, I keep hitting it anyway. We've got several revenue sources. So we've got the city gas tax, that's 2 cents per gallon. That's all the city puts on the gas is 2 cents per gallon. That generates about $188,000 a year. We have interest income of $6,000 a year, and then we transfer in from general fund, in this particular case, $197,595. So that's your income side, your revenue side. On expenditures, this year we're planning on 10 vehicle radios for the police department. So that's 10 each at $7,000 a piece. Also, police ERT radio headsets at about $10,000. And then we're budgeting for 3 new vehicles this year for the police department that equal $165,000. We're also looking at updating body cameras, 35,000, K9 kennels, 25,000, and a UTV drone package at 15,000. So these are all items that help our first responders be more effective with their activities. In addition, a new radar at $2,500. So that's what we've got lined up for the PD. For the street department, we're looking at a hook lift dump box. So that's a 10-yard bed for one of our newer hook lift trucks at $40,000. We're looking for a tire balancer this year at $15,000, hydraulic breaker at $11,000, and enterprise vehicle leases $29,725. And then we've got some other additional leases, the tool cat, the lawnmower, and the hook lift trucks, which are the last items there, $27,000 and $145,000. Any questions on capital equipment fund?
Alderman Monroe?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, could I ask the question on number 304, the machinery and equipped 5-yard dump trucks? Didn't we buy some? What's the difference in this dump truck and the other dump truck? The other one that we did on, where was it? It was
On the capital budget?
okay.
Yeah, it's the same.
Yeah, it was a 5 and a 10. So
Yeah.
what's the difference in having? Will that be 2 of them then?
No, it's just the same one.
It's the same truck.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
It's just listed in this
Okay.
particular budget.
Thank you.
Good question. Any others? Carry on.
Okay, moving on to the motor fuel tax fund, we've got 2 revenue sources for this fund. So that's the transportation renewal fund and the motor fuel tax allotment. So the transportation renewal fund is about $450,000. We're expecting $450,000 this year, and the motor fuel tax allotment's about $565,000. So just about $1 million for MFT is what we're budgeting for revenue. we're carrying over a balance. It won't be, well, let me put it this way, it'll be $2 million, but due to circumstances related to Pearl City Road, about $1 million of that will be used at the first, as soon as construction season gets started next year. So although we're carrying over $2 million, there will only be an additional $1 million. So total for use for next year would be about $2 million total. As far as the expenditures, next year will be, as we talked about the street program during the capital budget, those are the projects we're focusing on. $2 million of that is being paid for out of MFT. Okay, and just to make a mention that $3 million that we plan to spend on roads next year is coming out of reserves. Okay. Any questions on MFT?
Just one real quick.
Yes, Alderperson Sellers?
Yes, just wondering, I know you said $1 million will be coming for the Pearl City Road.
Yes.
I thought that was already funded. Are we just taking it out, but we're gonna put it back in when we get the,
Well, what you're seeing here is you're really seeing a $3 million total revenue, and that's a little misleading because $1 million of that is going to be used on Pearl City Road. We didn't get it bid, let, and then started on time, and now the contractor's not comfortable moving forward with what's left in the remainder of the year for construction. So we're going to be taking care of Pearl City like at our first opportunity in March next year.
right, that's what I'm asking. I'm asking, you're taking $1 million from that to use to get that started?
That's correct. yes.
Okay, thank you, yep.
Any other questions on MFT?
So that was fully budgeted in 2023, but now we're showing the line item in 2024. Is there something showing that basically we had the money moving forward?
Yes, I mean, basically, what we have here is so what we would have carried forward this year would have been $1 million if we hadn't done Pearl City Road. But what we're carrying forward is $2 million instead, and then we're bringing in another $1 million in new revenue. So that's total of $3 million. So we're using $1 million for Pearl City Road, approximately, and then we're using $2 million plus $1 million from reserves to carry forward on the road program that I put up on the capital part of the budget. I'm sorry, can I answer it a little differently?
Yes. Darren wants to speak too.
I was just gonna say, that funding is funding that we've got this year, and since it won't be expended this year, since the contract push until spring, it's just staying in that account.
Right.
And that money comes in and goes into the MFT.
You just, yeah, no, I understood that, but I just wanted to make sure that was clear that that money's already been gathered in 2023.
Yes, that's correct. Okay. Okay, so the next one we'll be working on here is the Street Improvement Fund. So on the revenue side, we're bringing about $250,000 in from the electric tax, $185,000 from the natural gas tax, $255,000 from the road improvement fee. So that's the $2 on the water bill, and then $25,000 on interest income. So that's the interest on, or that's the income for the Street Improvement Fund. As far as expenditures, we're going to be expending approximately $1,000 every year for bad debt. We've got about $1,100 in bank fees, and then $231,000 in contracted repairs and infrastructure maintenance. And then transfer to debt service would be $481,270. So that's for the 2019 and 2021 bond payments. The bank fees are related to the administrative fees for the bonds, and yeah. So, any questions on that? Essentially, the Street Improvement Fund brings in revenue that goes back out to pay for projects that we've done already.
Alderman Monroe?
Yes.
Just one, right here with the bad debt, so we have to pay $1,000 a month, or what did you
A
say?
year,
$1,000 a year for bad debt?
yes.
And then the bank fees is $1,100?
Right.
A year? Do you know for how long?
Yes,
bad
well,
debt?
we have two bonds. Michelle, maybe you want to weigh on this. We have the 2019 bond and the 2021 bond. This money goes to the administration fees for those two bonds. I believe that
Yes,
was, go ahead.
That's what I would say as well. We're billed to $550 a year for each bond that the city has from US Bank. They administer the bonds. So there's work that they do on the back end. So that's until the bonds are all paid off,
Okay.
unfortunately. If I could,
Yes, carry on.
the bad debt is an estimate. I still need to bring the bad debt write-off for you to the council before the year end for the water and sewer department, billing department. So bad debt is written off annually, so over 7 years that we've not been able to collect. So our system is able to distinguish water versus sewer versus storm. So there'll be a small portion of the $2 that didn't get paid on a water bill. So the thousand's an estimate.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, let's move on to the water fund. So you'll notice up at the top, 2024 is highlighting $2.7 million in grant revenue. That is for the lead service line Phase 3, which we discussed during the capital budget. Also, if you go down to the miscellaneous fees, we've got about $150,000 in that item. That's credit card fees. And if you drop down 2 more items to city reimbursement, so that's the reimbursement from the garbage fund for billing. So that's us paying the city for their time for the garbage billing. And then the EPA loan proceeds, you'll see in 2024 you got $5.8 million coming into the water fund to pay for the water improvements on Adams Avenue. So that's what we've got for revenue. Moving on with the expense side. The first several items there is wages and fringe for staff. That goes down to approximately $6,005. So if you want to just, unless you have a question on the staff levels or the pay or whatever, fringe, we can go into that. Otherwise, I'd like to keep going. Okay. Any questions on staff?
So is this, I'm sorry. So is this added staff or?
No, this is just existing. This is our existing staff in that deal with water.
Oh, okay, so it went from 642 to 1,025,000, right?
No.
What am I
The
reading?
642 is the year activity for 2023, so we haven't finished the year out, so we haven't finished the year, so
Oh,
that's
okay.
what we've used so far this year. The $1,025,160 is our budget for next year for just labor plan operations. So that'd be our labor for next year. Okay. Any other questions on that? Okay. Moving down, let's skip down to 880-000-6170, contracted infrastructure repair and maintenance. That item is $3.2 million. That is the lead service line Phase 3, plus additional for the year. So we have various items that come up throughout the year. So that is why it's over $3 million. The lead service line program is going to be, $3, and then $200,000 will be for other things that come up throughout the year, whether that's a lift station break, or something goes wrong with a VFD for a well, or we have to get something repaired. Moving on down to 6315 under engineering. This is budgeted at $125,000. This is what we're estimating for engineering fees for next year, and this is broken out from the consulting services. So we're trying to be more specific about these codes, where everything used to fall under consulting services. Now we have consulting services and specifically engineering, so that we're highlighting those individually. And going through the next page here, and there's quite a bit here, so feel free to stop me if you have any questions. Postage and freight, that's basically the water bills. So that's code 880-000-6580. So you can see there we're budgeting about $40,000 for postage. And then if you would follow me down to 7040 capital outlay. That's the $5.8 million we have budgeted for the new water main on Adams Avenue. Just a couple of items below that, at 8128, that's interest on EPA loan. You've got $28,000 budgeted there, and that's, Michelle, did you want to just comment on that one real quick?
On, was it
8128, yep.
Some of our loans,
This is the MIU one.
oh, you're looking at
81
Central Bank or EPA?
EPA.
We're about ready to start repayment for a couple loans, I think. And so I'm kind of keeping a placekeeper there. EPA has not sent us the loan repayment schedule yet, but we know it's coming. So the new water treatment plant, and I think there was water main loan, and the well, and the well. So that's what's placeholder.
And just highlight one other one here, Central Bank, that is for the meter interface units. I don't know if everybody may be aware that we had the R450s were our radio communication for the meters. They started dying off after about 10 years, and we're in the process of replacing all those radios. So we got a loan for the for about half of the total MIUs that we needed. So okay, so the Highline numbers in this, so our total outlay is going to be $13,275,000 for our water fund, and our total revenue is the same. Any questions on the water fund? There's a lot in here, so feel free to jump out. I mean, we've got various other items in here, meter equipment, lab equipment, construction. Some of these numbers are there for us to be able to deal with the day-to-day operations of the plants and what we think we'll need going forward. Okay, moving on to the next, the sewer fund. The sewer fund is... let's see here, that you'll see that again, the revenue side, just hitting some of the highlights. So revenue, residential service income is going to be about 2.7 million. Our commercial service income is going to be about 875,000. Then we've got various other fees. The capital improvement fee is scheduled with the new rates for CIP. We're anticipating about $4.5 million on the capital improvement fee attached to the sewer bill. And then if you go on down a little lower, you'll see the EPA loan proceeds. That's $27,400,000. That would go toward the construction of phase 1 of the wastewater treatment plant. So the total for that is about $58 million. Okay, on the expense side, again, we've got the labor portion, which is the first several expense codes. So starting at 5040, going all the way to 6005. So let's see here. Let me draw your attention to contracted repair or infrastructure repair and maintenance. That's 6170. We are budgeting about $600,000. This is for sewer lining, manhole rehabs, and emergency repairs on the sewer side, which there are frequent emergencies. In addition, we're budgeting on item 6315 under engineering about $200,000, and we're also working on that Unsewered Communities grant for West Demeter, so some of that is engaged in that. Just a few other items here. You've got some of the other, like utilities, natural gas, we're budgeting about $30,000. NPDS permit fees, $34,000 a year is a pretty standard amount. Postage and freight, about 50,000. Let's go to the next page here. Oops. Let's see. And then just a couple of highlights. The capital outlay at item 7040. We've got an outlay of $27,400,000. That is the wastewater treatment plant phase 1 for next year. So that'll be 2 of those. So, okay. There's quite a bit here. Most of this stuff has to do with just day-to-day operations in the field and whatnot. Maintenance, obviously, when you have as many miles of sewer main, what do we have, about 130 miles of sewer main? Yeah. And then all the associated equipment, lift stations, generators, wastewater treatment plant itself and its operational costs and the staff involved. The budget's pretty substantial. So the total budget for the wastewater treatment plant is $36,221,000. And that includes kind of some of those figures that are skewing things somewhat, but pretty substantial budget there. Any questions on the sewer fund? Okay. Then I guess we only have stormwater left. Yeah, okay. So moving on to stormwater, our revenue there. So our current fund balance in the stormwater fund is 1.5 million, and that is our capital, our fund reserve. And then we've got about $1 million. About $1 million in grant revenue. Residential service brings in about $485,000 a year. Commercial service brings in about $175,000 a year, and capital improvement is about $509,000 per year. So on the expense side, again, we have the labor portion, albeit much smaller than on the wastewater side. You can review that and ask me if you have any questions on that, but I'd like to move down to 6150. Again, we have some consulting fees there. We're budgeting about $150,000 for consulting fees. We've got $25,000 for contracted repair and infrastructure. We've got about $225,000 budgeted for depreciation. And mains and manholes about $30,000. So just to give you an example, most of the items included in this budget would be for repairs of failing storm inlets, and we have quite a few of them in the city. However, the ones that are creating an acute issue are the ones we'd be dealing with contemporaneously according to the budget that's available here. So our total expenses for next year estimated at $3.9 million for the storm, and that includes capital outlay for the downtown storm rehab. We got about a 1.6 project we talked about in the capital plan to do stormwater repair in the downtown, and then also Adams Avenue is in here. So the component of the stormwater repairs that needs to be done for Adams Avenue. So, okay. Any questions on stormwater fund? And any questions in general?
I have one, Alderman.
Yes, Alderperson Sellers.
I would just like to know, how many, with as many loans as we have out there now, how many loans are we going at total for this year? Are we going after any loans, or are we just, because I hear a lot of loans, grants, so I'm just wondering, because I can't, it's a lot.
Anything with a number, like that first slide that City Manager Boyer presented, anything with a L17 number is an approved loan with IEPA.
Right.
So that's already done, per se.
Okay.
And pretty much, the ones that say pending loan, those are the ones that we don't know yet what we're working on.
Like for instance, we've got, let's see here, water main phase 4. That's a project that we haven't really completely defined the scope of yet, but we think it's going to be about $2 million, and it's, we don't have any pending loans for that yet. We'll be looking, once we get to that point, we'll be looking for an IEPA loan at that time.
So we don't know how many, I'd have to go through here and look at all the, we don't know off the top of our head, you know, we got 20 loans, or we got 5 loans, or, you know, to add to the 40 we already have. I'd just like to know how many loans are we gonna keep?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Yeah,
Ma-
help me.
Maybe, Joy, maybe what you might be looking for is, and I was gonna ask, we'll see at some point along the line here, before we get finished, but the total number of dollars that the city of Freeport owes in loans. You know, we've got loans from the past, we've got construction stuff, we've got, and this amounts to millions of dollars. It isn't a matter of $5, okay? But could you get us that at some point? I mean, we don't need it right now, but just so people have that. I know what the figure was when we talked about home rule and that kind of stuff, but I know stuff's been added onto it then. So just if we could at some point, you know.
Yeah, we can definitely get that together. Yes, go ahead, Michelle.
That would be readily available in our audit.
Yep, I know,
So,
it's in the audit. We'll
I
just
can
have to follow
forward
the
that
page.
out.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Is that it?
Yeah, that's all I've got.
Awesome. So that brings us to item number 8, public comments, agenda or non-agenda items.
If I could make one comment.
Yes.
Just the remaining portion of this process. Next Monday, we'll be bringing together all the changes that we're going to need to make since we started the budget process, which isn't a whole lot, and we'll be doing like an overall summary of everything. So next Monday, we'll be doing a full summary of the entire budget rapidly and then highlighting any changes. Okay? Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, City Manager. With
Will
that,
that
we'll,
be at 5 o'clock as well?
is it 5 o'clock as well?
Or 6, because there's no council meeting.
Awesome. Any public comments on this Finance Committee of the Whole? Seeing none, we'll make a motion. Can I get a motion for adjournment?
So move.
Second. Alderman Sellers and Alderman Shadle. And all of those in favor, say aye. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.